Okay, so I'm going to be showing y'all how to read through a passage using some strategies, okay? So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to read the title and underline it. Who wants to read the title? Kelsey. The title.
Princess Play.
Princess Play. So you're going to take your pencil and you're going to underline the title. Princess Play. Okay. And then the next thing that you're going to do is after you've done that is you're going to number your paragraphs. Okay? How do we know where a new paragraph starts? Bryson? How do we know when the new paragraph starts? Okay, that's a new sentence. How do we know when a new paragraph starts? Gregory?
Whenever they're like separated.
What do you mean by separated?
Like, let's say, like, this is a whole, like, let's say I think this is a whole paragraph, and then you have that space. And
Okay. Kind of. So this little space right here, okay, this is how you know that there's a new paragraph. This is what we call an indention. You always indent the first line of a paragraph. So you're going to number your paragraphs. How many paragraphs do you have? 3. 1, 2, and 3. Those are your paragraphs. Go ahead and number your paragraphs.
What about this over here? The big one. Like that on the other side.
Now, this is just where the line doesn't come all the way over.
No, like right here. Is this a paragraph?
No, that's where the end of the paragraph stopped, and then you had to start your new paragraph. Okay, so now that we've numbered our paragraphs, we're going to read the questions at the bottom. Okay, you always want to read your questions first before you read your passage. So who's going to read question 1 for me? Bryson?
Why doesn't it mean, what does it mean that Robert looked at her like she had 2 heads?
Good. So what does it mean that Roger looked at her like she had 2 heads? So somewhere in our passage, we know there's going to be a line that talks about Roger looking at someone like she has 2 heads. So we're going to keep our eyes open for that line in our paragraph because that might be where we find our answer for question 1. Okay, so let's read question number 2. Evangeline? Good. How can Roger tell that Melody means business? Okay, so somewhere in our paragraph, Roger and Melody are doing something, and he realizes that Melody means business, and we have to figure out how he knows that. Okay, so we're going to keep our eyes open for that. Who's going to read question 3? Aaliyah?
What do you think Roger realizes at the end of the passage?
Okay, so at the end of the passage, Roger's going to realize something, and we have to figure out what he realizes. So we're going to try and keep our eyes open for that. So you always want to read your questions first so that you know what to look for in your passage. Okay? Have any questions about that so far? Okay. Who wants to start reading?
Me.
Kelsey? Just read the first paragraph.
Why do I always have to be a princess? Whined Melody. Her brother Roger looked at her like she had 2 heads.
Good. Who wants to read paragraph 2?
We have our answer to the first question.
Yeah? Okay, so who wants to read paragraph 2? Bryson?
What do you want me to do? Put on the crown and dress? Roger.
Snickered.
Snickered as he swung his sword. Never mind. Well, have you ever thought about that I might want to be the brave one for once? I hate that you always have to rescue me. It makes me feel so wimpy.
Melody.
Melody crossed her arms and started straying
Mm-hmm.
at Roger. Roger has been Lori's big brother. Long started straight at Roger. Roger has been enough to know that the rest she looks at that she wasn't going to be giving up anytime soon. Okay, sis. I've got
Good. Who wants to read paragraph 3? You've already read, Kelsey. Let somebody else. Somebody who hasn't read, who wants to read paragraph 3? Aaliyah?
Good thing Melody and Roger's mother was sitting down and he
Galloping.
there first into the kitchen. They scared her to death. Both kids were
Slicing.
checking the air with swords and shields.
Shielding.
Their faces with bucket. Get him, Melody. Roger commanded. Melody raced forward and plunged her sword into the stuffed dagger, sitting on the family room couch. Roger followed up with a bronze hit himself. Playing right who cheered as the flame giant shone over Roger. Roger looked at his sister as they galloped away to their next challenge.
Good. Okay, so as Bryson mentioned earlier, we can find the answer to number 1 in paragraph 1. So, what does it mean that Roger looked at her like she had 2 heads? What does that mean? Kelsey?
Looking like she's crazy?
Yeah. How do we know that? What in our paragraph made us think that?
Okay, she said, why do I always have to be princess? And her brother, Roger, looked at her like she had 2 heads.
which means she's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And she can't be the prince because she's not.
Good. So, but what part of that made you think that meant that she was crazy? What in the sentence? Just because she asked the question, or what part of the paragraph made you think that she was meant that she was crazy? Bryson?
Just because, like, the sentence, because she said, she said, like Kelsey said, why do I always have to be the princess?
Mm-hmm. So we could also look at how Roger responds. He says, Melody, because you're the girl. So he's kind of looking at her like maybe it's kind of obvious as to why you're always the princess. Right? Good. So you're going to write your answer on the line, and you're going to want to use complete sentences. So you're going to restate the question with the answer at the end. So we could do Roger looked at her like she had two heads means he thinks she's crazy. Okay? So that would be a complete sentence. Because you're restating the question, Roger looked at her like she had two heads means, and then our answer. Okay? You gotta read that, and I just finished out the sentence right here because it's not very big. So, let's see, can I zoom in? There, can you see that better? Okay. So Roger looked at her like she had two heads means he thinks she is crazy.
Done.
Okay. And then you also want to show where you found your answer. So you go back up to the paragraph 1, and we're going to look at what in here made us think that this was our answer. So we can underline this. Her brother Roger looked at her like she had two heads. And then underline his response that Melody, because you're the girl. So he thinks that she's crazy for not understanding why she always has to be the princess. And because this is the answer to question 1, you're going to put Q1. So that when we go back and look, because you're going to do the passage on the back by yourself, when we go back, we can know where you found your answer.
How do you know, where did you get the U from? You just ran.
What do you mean?
You said U1.
Q. Q for question. Q1. Raise your hand when you're done.
What?
If you're done writing, raise your hand. Kelsey, are you still writing? No? Okay. Kaylee, let me know when you're done, okay? You can put your hand down. Okay, so let's go on to number 2. How can Roger tell that Melody means business? Kelsey?
Because she was serious. She looked serious. That she wanted to save his life for once.
Okay. And where do we find that? What paragraph is that in? Paragraph 1, 2, or 3?
3?
Is it in paragraph 3?
No, it's 2.
In paragraph 2, okay? So if we reread paragraph 2, it says, well, have you ever thought about the fact that I might want to be the brave one for once? I hate that you always have to rescue me. It makes me feel wimpy. Melody crossed her arms and stared straight at Roger. Roger had been Melody's big brother long enough to know that the way she looked meant that she was not going to be giving up anytime soon. So which sentence in there tells us how Roger knew that she meant business? Bryson?
Because she crossed her arms.
Yeah, she crossed her arms and she just stared at him, right? If you cross your arms and stare at somebody, does that mean you mean business? If your mom gets mad at you and she crosses her arms and she's looking at you, does that mean she means business, or is she just goofing around?
I mean, it kind of looks like goofing around, kind of, but...
So if your mom crosses her arms at you and just stares at you like this?
I mean, that would make me feel
Like
like I
this?
would be in trouble.
Yeah.
But,
And that means business, right?
yeah.
You gotta do some work for
Kinda
my
means-
business.
It kind of means business and serious and in trouble.
Yeah. So that sentence right there. So let's go ahead and underline that. Melody crossed her arms and stared straight at Roger. And this is the answer to question 2. So we're going to write Q2 next to it so that we know that that's where we found the answer to question 2. And then we want to make sure that we write our answer in a complete sentence. So we're going to restate our question and then add our answer to the end. So we could say, Roger knows that Melody means business when she crosses her arms and stares at him. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that. Roger knows Melody means business when she crosses her arms and stares at him. Okay, Roger knows Melody means business when she crosses her arms and stares at him. Okay. We're going to give a few more minutes because I can still see that people are writing. Yeah, so when you underline this up here, you want to put Q2 so that we know where you found the answer to question 2. Who's still writing? Evangeline, Gregory, Aaliyah, are you still writing? No? You're done? Okay.
I'm done.
You're done. Okay. Question number 3. What do you think Roger realizes by the end of the passage? So the end of the passage, what paragraph do you think that this is going to be in?
3, definitely 3.
Probably it's going to be in paragraph 3 because that's towards the end of our passage. Okay, so we're going to just focus on paragraph 3 because it's the end of the passage. So what do you think Roger realizes by the end of the passage? Gregory?
That she's not crazy anymore, I think.
Yeah?
This came off.
Okay, go sit down. What else? What else could it be? Do we need to reread the paragraph maybe? Let's reread the paragraph and see if we can come up with something. Good thing Melody and Roger's mother was sitting down when the galloping pair burst into the kitchen. They scared her to death. Both kids were slicing the air with swords and shielding their faces with buckets. "Get him, Melody," Roger commanded. Melody raced forward and plunged her sword into the stuffed dragon sitting on the family room couch. Roger followed up with a strong hit himself. Woohoo! Both kids cheered as the green giant slumped over onto the rug. Roger winked at his sister as they galloped away to their next challenge. Bryson?
That they said woohoo, like woohoo, like happy, and then Roger winked at his sister.
Yeah, so they were both having fun, right? So do you think maybe he realized that they can both have fun and both be the brave one?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So because the very up in the top paragraph, she was talking about how, or in paragraph 2, how she might want to be the brave one for once. So they were both having fun, and they both got to be the brave one. So maybe that's what he realized, is they can both have fun and both be the brave one. Think that could be the answer?
Yes.
Okay. So, so we can underline the wahoo. Both kids cheered, and then Roger winked at his sister. Right? Because that tells us that they were both having fun, and that Roger realized that they could both have fun and still be the brave. So we're going to write Q3 next to that one, because that's where we found our answer for question 3. Okay? And then we still want to write this one in a complete sentence as well. So we could write, at the end of the passage, Roger realizes that they can both be brave and still have fun. So, at the end of the passage, Roger realizes that they can both be the brave one and have fun. Okay, at the end of the passage, Roger realizes that they can both be the brave one and have fun. Get to writing, Gregory. Okay, so when you're done, you can flip it over and work on the passage on the back. Remember that you need to go through the steps that we just went through. You need to underline your title, read your questions, number your paragraphs, and then read your passage. And then you need to remember to underline where you found your answer to the question and label it so that when me and Ms. Volker go back and look at it, we can tell where you found your answer.